over to YouTube. We are headed that way right now. Let's get that party started.
We're live.
Go. We're live. Live. Here it comes. All right. Over to YouTube. Hi, everybody. It's me, Jennifer, of the Little Metal Foxes. And I've got,
Julia from Little Metal Foxes.
and
From London.
also from Little Metal Foxes. And we've got some things to show you about drilling some pearls today and stones. So yeah, so we've got some cool things. So Julia, you do a lot of pearl drilling for stringing.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about why and how you do that?
Yes. So I mostly use pearls two ways in my work. I either knot them on a strand, and if you are knotting them on a strand, you have to drill out the pearls that are closest to the clasp because the thread has to go through them and then back through them again. So you have to have twice as much thread through each pearl. And so you have to ream out the pearls at the end to make it possible to do that, because otherwise you're going to break your thread, right? And then the other thing I use pearls for is I've made little earrings where I have the one pearl. I'll take a piece of wire and hammer a little paddle on the end or make a little spiral and then thread the pearl on and then have it just be a little earring dangle. And I've done that for necklaces as well. And generally the holes that are drilled in the pearls are drilled for a piece of thread, for silk or thread of fiber of some kind. And so the wire is a little bit too big to just get. Sometimes the pearl holes are big enough, but often
they're drilled for like 26 to 20, about 26 gauge.
Right. And so if you want to put a wire through, you're probably going to use at the very least 24. And I've used up to like 18, right? Because I'm hammering a little paddle. I want enough, volume of material to make the thing look interesting. So then I have to ream the pearls out to get the wire through. That's really what I've done. And then occasionally I've also used the diamond bead reamer to smooth off the edges of holes on stone beads as well. But for the vast majority of my time, it's been pearls.
Yeah, but you're usually using just a regular twist steel drill.
Yes. In all of those cases, I would just hold a twist drill bit in a pin vise. I'm just holding it in a pin vise and dip the drill bit in water. I have a little like baby food jar that just lives with my pearls with a little bit of water in it, and then hold the pearl in my fingers. And so my pearl jig is that. Just hold the pearl in my fingers and very gently drill through usually I'll go from one side and then, come back out, dip it in the water again, turn the pearl around, go from the other side, right? Because I don't want to go all the way through and chip the edge of the hole as I come out the other side.
Right. Blast it out.
Right. And so, I mean, it's less important. That's less of an issue if you're dealing with a pearl on a strand, because often you won't see that because of the knots in between. But certainly if it's a single pearl on an earring, you don't want to have little chips and fractures on the edge of the hole.
Right. Well, and with stone beads, usually you can open them up, but you're going to have to use like a diamond burr, or diamond drill bit to do that. Helen, you've got a really good example of Lee Appleby's pearl necklace.
Yes.
Hold that up.
Ooh. Show you the backside. Whoops.
Well, shout out to Lee Appleby.
Hold on. Let's spotlight this. Oops. Let's see. You have to spotlight it because I can't. Apparently, I'm no longer. There we go.
So Lee will use really beautiful pearls, and this one has so much purple and green in it. It's just gorgeous. And he'll a lot of times have a little sparkle or a little added what to the surface, little flowers or stones or things like that, and having to enlarge the hole for those as well. And we saw these when we were visiting him about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago at his studio, and he had some really beautiful things. And I know you saw that, and almost we didn't get you to leave the house. You were like, should I buy it?
I know.
Yes.
So with that piece, he has a piece that runs through the center. So he probably enlarged the hole in that pearl to be able to, can you spotlight it again, Jennifer? He probably enlarged the center hole that was drilled in that pearl to get that piece that goes through the middle, but then the other little, like the little flower and the two little dots that are on the front, those don't go all
Yeah.
the way through. So he would have just
No.
drilled partway in and then glued, I'm assuming.
Correct. Yes, I'm assuming that there is some glue involved in the insets.
Yeah.
But this probably goes all the way through this bottom one.
Because the
Yeah.
pearl will move slightly on that piece of wire, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, just a little. Not a lot. I don't wanna, it's pretty snug.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
But-
you know, being able to do like stone on stone settings, be able to open up, ream your beads open, is really helpful to know how to do, and doing it with just a few tools that aren't too terribly expensive. So one of the classes that I've got coming up is the Diamond Burrs Demystified, where we talk about, you know, this in depth about these different like burrs and things. But a little set like this or like this is not real expensive. They're usually about you know, under 20 bucks, sometimes under 10, depending on the set. And they are really incredibly handy to have if you're doing a little bit of reaming on
Right.
stone beads or pearl beads and wanting to kind of open things up. So these can be incredibly helpful. The other thing that's really helpful are little bead reamers like these that you can usually get for just a few bucks, and you can get these on
Yeah,
Amazon.
Look like that is a set that has the handles are integrated, right?
Yes.
The set I have, I should grab it, is two separate parts, which also works fine and was very inexpensive. Yeah, so mine just has a little handle
Yeah.
with a collet on it. And then it came with two of the three ones that you have, right? You have sort of a fatter reamer and a thinner one, and then
And you can tell which one I use the most. And but these are so, you know, very inexpensive that it's easy to get another set. The
right.
other thing that's here that I really like a lot is it has about a 90-degree angle on the front.
Mhm.
And this is really helpful, especially when, like you said, you blast it out, you know, some piece of glass or a bead. And this will help countersink the hole just a little bit. So I
Mhm.
kind of load this into a little hole, and it will take off, you know, sort of that edge a little bit, which keeps it from cracking and chipping. So having a little reamer like this actually is really handy. Not so much to like open up the pearl, but uh, to sort of help maintain it. So these
Mhm.
guys are just, you know, dip them in some water and just give them a twist. And they're like little diamond files, basically, that you can use to kind of get into those little holes and open them up. So we were talking about when these are manufactured and they're being drilled. There's a process. Julia, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so are you talking about drilling the pearls
Yes.
or the stone beads? Yes, you generally, because if you drill straight through from one side, you saw that little dot of water that she had on there. If you drill straight through from one side, it's going to basically blow out the hole on the other side as it comes through. Like if you drill through a piece of wood, you know, you always get little splinters on the backside, right? So even with wood, you know, woodworkers will put like a piece of tape or something to hold that down. With stone and bead, often they'll drill from both sides. So they'll drill, you know, halfway through from one side and then halfway through from the other side. And so sometimes the holes don't match up perfectly.
Yeah.
Then occasionally you can get a thread through there, but then when you go to thread like a thicker piece of silk or something on there, you can't get it through, or you can't get your needle through. And so sometimes you need to ream out a pearl just to be able to get a straight path through it. So what she's got on her finger there is it's basically a paste that's made of the nacre of the pearl and water. And that isn't going to hurt her. That's not toxic to have on her skin, but if it dries out and she breathes it in, that's toxic. That's hard on her lungs. So you just want to make sure that you rinse all that stuff away. You know, it won't hurt anybody if it goes down the drain, but rinse it off. and rinse off your tools, right? And rinse off your pearls. Yeah, you can see her. She's used this one a lot, and she's used it wet, which is exactly the right way to do it, which is why her reamer is rusty. So
Little
you
rusty.
want to dry your reamer when you get done too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So and then this little guy, because it's got
Mhm.
that little angle to it, is great for just, getting into that little area. So this is especially good if you're doing something like adding a ball wire, that you're going through, because it'll help the ball wire sort of sink into that countersunk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And in the motion, it'll keep it from chipping out. And
Mhm.
this is especially good to do if you're using stone or glass as well.
Right.
Um, because if you've got that, right angle and something, coming at it or twisting around it, it can potentially break the stone in half. So that's not good.
Well,
The
and if it's sharp on the edge and you've got a thread going through there, you've got some fiber going through there, and you have that sharp edge, it over time it can wear the edge and cut it. So that it's
Yeah,
good to smooth round that edge off. That's more of an issue for stone beads than it is for pearls,
right.
I would think.
So this little set, because it's got, so many little shapes and things. This is really a great little set for, not just reaming open the pearls and stone beads, but I can also, like with Lee's piece, if I wanted to do kind of an inset like stone on stone, I usually start with something like a little ball burr like this one, and kind of do what's equivalent to a center punch,
Hmm.
the round ball burr, and then so it'll give me a little indentation. So then
Hmm.
I start to drill into the bead and do like a half drilled spot. And sometimes I'll use like a tapered cylinder or something that will, allow me to sort of drill part of the way through so I can glue a part in like that. But these things are really helpful for the actual drilling part. But I know you said that you're usually holding your beads as well. Like
Right. I just, because I'm not, the beads, the pearls that I'm using already have a hole in them.
right,
And so all I'm trying to do is enlarge a hole. So I'm not having to apply that much force. And I don't have to make sure that the direction of the force is perfectly aligned, right? Because there's already a hole for the reamer to follow.
right,
So I'll just hold it in my fingers. The other reason that holding it in your fingers, if you're enlarging one, is good is because if you're using a really fine drill bit, which I frequently am, if it starts to get binding up, jammed up, I can feel that really easily in the
right,
pressure against my fingers. And
right,
so then I can, back it out and rinse off my drill bit and come back in and be very gentle. It's kind of like with taps and dies. You really have to take your time and be gentle and kind of go in and out a bunch in
right.
order to not um,
Well, and
break
you
a
want to be
little
able
bit
to
off
feel,
in the
you want to be
pearl.
able to feel the torque on the tool as well.
Exactly, exactly. And
Yeah,
it's easy to feel the torque on the bead if you're holding the bead in your fingers.
right, right. So, what this little pearl vise here is great, because it has these nylon holding ends that are dipped in a little bit. So it gives it a little bit of grip, and it has a hole in the bottom, so it allows you to kind of get it lined up the way you want, with the hole on the bottom. Some people will, line it up so they know just where the hole is. And then I open this up so much to get it in there. But this way, I've got this little vise that's going to hold my pearl like while I'm drilling. So now I've got my hole centered. I know where it is. So I'm not going to be drilling off center. Um, so with the drill bits themselves, we had talked a little bit about, either using, and you use just a regular twist drill, right, Julia?
Again, yes, I use just a regular straight fine twist drill, but all I'm doing is enlarging a hole,
Right.
right?
So
Um,
these are diamond coated
mhm.
twist. And Helen, you've got one that you use for glass. Do you want to talk about that one real quick?
Yeah, sure. It's called a triple ripple. So when you search for it, please, please, please search for triple ripple diamond drill or burr.
Right.
Um, but I first learned about it when taking glass classes down in Portland at Bullseye, and it just does a really great job of getting through that material and making a decent hole for jewelry and other components that you want to, make holes through. So it's a
Is that a
really
triple
great tool drill.
This is actually it's like a piano wire drill, and basically it's got like wire, and then this is a specific size. So it's not this is a 1.4 uh millimeter, and this is great for things like glass and stone, and because
Mhm.
it's kind of a solid cylinder. It's got a
Mhm.
couple things of relief here where it can get some of uh the debris out of the way, but it
Mhm.
doesn't have the big twist like a twist drill, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
This can be, especially when you're working with really fine drill bits, if it binds up, like you said earlier, if there's
Right.
work on there, the fluted drill bits can break because they're so delicate, especially when you're working with something that's about 1 millimeter. That get the chances of
Yeah.
binding and breaking are really high. So with something like the piano wire or the cylinder or the triple ripples, you don't have this kind of twist, and they're much more. This is a much more durable drill bit than something with a twist, right?
Mhm.
um the other thing too is that the triple ripple, the cylinder, cylinder drills, or the piano wire style drill like this, and the burrs are omnidirectional, or not omnidirectional, they're
Yeah.
bidirectional. So you can use them on a forward or a backward stroke, and you can use them by hand just by twisting. So
Mhm.
you go in and open something up just by that twist. Where with the twist drill, they only work on the forward twist, because this little cutting edge of the flute is actually biting into the metal or the material as it goes around, and then
Mhm.
up the flute out of the way. So these don't work. They're designed to work on the forward spin.
Mhm.
Some people like to use them on the backward spin because they're a little gentler, but that's not really how they're designed to be used. So anyway, but you can, like Julia was saying, you can actually use these just by hand or putting them into a pin vise, so that you can kind of go in a little more gently and feel that binding if it does bind up. But it's a little bit slower, but you're less likely to break the stone, break your drill bit, and kind of get things done that way. But you can use the flex shaft for these as well. The the other one that I've got here, this is one little vise. Got the little hole in the bottom.
Mhm.
Um,
I
so
like, one of the other things I like about that one is that it can open up pretty big. You get a pretty big pearl in there.
you can, yes. So this does open really big for like you can get, at least, a half inch stone in this.
Mhm.
But the problem is that this hole is only so big. So you
Mhm.
get the hole so big. So if you're wanting to set like a piece of tubing in there, and drilling a bigger hole, this may be a limitation as to how big your hole can be because of that.
Mhm.
But you can always drill from the side as well. So
Right.
you
That's what I was thinking, is that, you
have
would
the drill
drill it from
press.
the side.
Yeah, you can use this at the drill press, set it up, and come in from the side as well.
Mhm.
The other one that I've got here is a pretty standard little drill, a bead clamp. And what it does is it has a little spring on the inside, you can see there,
Mhm.
and it clamps onto those nice little round shapes, and just, kind of clamp them in. Again, I usually use a needle to kind of get things aligned if it's already drilled and I'm just opening up the hole. So I can make sure that I'm drilling through the right way. But it allows me, which I like about this one, is I can come in from both sides,
Yeah.
which I can't really do with this one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for drilled pearls, this is fantastic because I just want to go in from one place. But with this one, it makes it really easy to be able to actually get both sides. And because it's got a variety of sizes on this, I can go down really small and drill small pieces as well, and really, really big ones too. So kind of nice for that. There you go. So
Yeah, though it does have the limitation that the biggest pearl you can put in there is probably about the size of the one you've got in there, right?
actually, no, I mean, this opens up quite a lot.
Okay.
And this one is kind of lined up in this little slot on the back, like so, to create that spring. But so it acts like a clamp,
Mm-hmm.
but this does open to not quite half an inch, about I could probably get about an 8 millimeter pearl in here pretty easily.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that little spring and this little device, you just want to make sure you've got it kind of lined up so that it creates that little
Mm-hmm.
trapping spring action, little clamp action there. And just twist it on down, clamp it onto your pearl, and you're good to go. So, this, you want to be careful though that your pearl's not spinning in this device because you don't want to scratch the edges.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that it is, secure. Some people, and I've thought a lot about putting in something like a little bit of silicone on the inside just to
Oh,
protect.
you know what I would recommend is the Tough Break. Basically, it's the polyurethane sheet.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'd help. Yeah,
You could just cut a little hole in it that you could drill through.
absolutely. And you could even, take these apart and kind of line this with like a silicone.
Mm-hmm.
It's, got a smooth surface on the inside that isn't going to scratch your pearls.
Right.
But for opening these up, for doing half drills, for doing pearl threading, for stringing these onto wire, this gives you a lot of opportunities, even for doing like stone on stone or little inset pieces like Lee Appleby does with his stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
there we go. So yeah, those are our little tips, our little tool tips on pearl drilling. What do you think? Anything to add there, ladies?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this
Nope.
is this is going to show you the little thing I have. That's
Oh
this.
yeah, let's see. Let's
So
get,
it's just a handle with the collet, and
yeah,
it has the same two. It just came with two, right?
right,
So it has the one that has the right angle, and then it has one long, narrow one.
right. Well, and you could use the uh any of the diamond burrs with something like a pin vise.
Yeah.
And
And yeah, or I could use them with this, right? I mean, the nice thing about this is it has sort of the mushroom handle, so you can, if
right.
you really wanted to like ream on it, but generally you're not working that hard.
And the other thing I think we mentioned it on Instagram, but I don't know that we mentioned it here, is to make sure we're doing it in water. I think
Yeah.
you mentioned it. Not
I
just
mentioned that when you were demoing. It's very important that you work wet. You work wet. Very important you work wet with the pearls, but also with the stone. There are some stones that are toxic, like malachite. So you definitely want to work wet with those to make sure that you're not ingesting or breathing that dust. But in addition to that, the water is a lubricant, right? So regardless of whether the material is toxic for you to come into contact with, you want the water to just help
right. Keep everything cool.
keep everything cool and lubricated and make the drilling reaming process more effective.
Right. Absolutely. So yay. So there's our tool tip on
There's our tool tip.
things.
Woohoo! Woohoo! You
Well,
can get those little pearl drills. I think the little metal one that you got, the little pearl clamp you got when we were in London visiting with Helen back in April, a little memento of our time there. But I've seen them at Rio Grande and Auto Fry and other
yeah,
places like that. And the other one, the square one, I've also seen, I think, at Rio Grande. So you
yeah.
can.
This one I got from Rio. This one I got at Walsh in London.
Mhm.
Shout out to Walsh. They're so nice. We love
Oh
them.
my gosh, they were so sweet to us. They were just very
Yeah.
delightful. What was the gentleman's name? Mike?
Mark.
Mark.
Yeah.
Hello, Mark. Shout
Shout
out to
out to Mark. Hi, Mark.
H.S. Welsh and Hatton Gardens.
Oh,
Yeah.
Welsh. I thought it was Walsh, but
Walsh. No, it's Walsh. H.S. Walsh.
HS. See, I got the initials all wrong. I'm glad you're correcting us. But
Yeah.
yeah, they were delightful. We all bought things.
Absolutely. So yeah, but I did pick this up and it was really inexpensive. These are not expensive
I think it
clamps.
was like 4 or 5 pounds, which is like $7, right?
It's like $7 or something.
Yeah.
These can get a little more expensive, but like I said, you can use these with the drill press as well. So if you're wanting to make sure you're going in nice and straight, drill press can be a good way to go. But yeah, if you're working by
Using
hand,
the drill press, you probably want to submerge it to make sure, because that's going to be spinning faster than you would do it by hand. So just dipping it in water probably isn't quite enough water to lubricate. So I would consider putting a little tin of water and then submerging it and drilling
Or a
fluid.
sponge.
Or
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, just make sure it's wet is the key. Keep it lubricated.
Keep yourself safe. Stay away from breathing pearl dust.
Well, and shout out again, hi to Lee Appleby, our friend over in Wales, and for this inspirational moment. So
Indeed. Such a beautiful piece. I'm so glad Helen has that.
thanks for sharing that.
Me
All right,
too.
we'll see you guys next week for tool tips. And if you have any questions, make sure to write them. And we're really good about answering those questions for you here. Most of the things that we've got, like the oh gosh, like my reamers like this, you can get at any bead store. The little bits you can get on Amazon, and all of those are under, 12 bucks, I think. So really inexpensive way to be able to, boost your skill for not a lot of money. Big impact, low investment. Love that.
Yay. We love that. Yes.
Make sure you like, save, say hi, share this video. If you have people that are like, I can't drill a hole in my stone, let them know you can. And we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Bye.